Well, hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I am at a MCO plane spotting exhibit here at the Orlando International Airport, and I'm hanging out here because today is a normal day in the National Airspace System. That's right, my flight is delayed. And my delay was communicated on the Delta app just as I was arriving at the airport. I could have arrived at MCO later, but I'm enjoying spending time in the pre-TSA area, enjoying exhibits that this airport has to offer. I normally rush to TSA, but this time around, things are more leisurely because things are, well, normal. Yes, delay is something that you just have to expect nowadays, despite a lot of things. Now, at this point, I have no idea that my delay is going to get extended for hours, but I do know that this has happened before, so I'm prepared. When I book an airline ticket, even though there are specific arrival and departure times listed, I always think to myself, is that really going to happen? Will I arrive at LaGuardia early enough to be home for dinner? I'm prepared for anything, and unfortunately, you should be too. Come with me as I work my way over to the gate area. That's where my A321 will be.
Hope you enjoyed your Orlando experience.
Gate 84 is the place to be today. There's nobody here. All right, well, I've taken a seat in a non-Delta concourse, although Delta sometimes uses this concourse for some spillover flights. It's really quiet here. I'm not looking forward to going into the 70s concourse where the Delta gates are because I took a peek down there and it's really, really full. In any case, I am all set for my flight to LaGuardia. LaGuardia is currently landing on runway 22 and departing on runway 13. I hope that holds up for the evening hours, despite this delay, because I do have a strategic seat selection on the right-hand side of the aircraft. There may be a wind change a little bit later on, calling for a different runway to be used, but we'll just have to see what happens in this particular case. Now, I have to say, I don't like what the approach controller is doing right now. Whoever's working New York approach control, final vector into LaGuardia, he's vectoring aircraft up the center of Manhattan instead of up the Hudson River. I strategically chose a seat on the right-hand side of the aircraft for that Manhattan view today, but I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe it'll be a different controller later on. I hope it'll be a different controller who vectors aircraft up the Hudson River, and I hope that we get this approach to runway 22. The winds may change by the time we land. We're delayed. The reason for the delay? FAA ground delays. You see, the arrival routes from the south to New York are cut off due to severe weather south of New York. Only flights from the west and the north are coming in as they should be. I'll just have to wait it out here. The new departure time is 5 p.m. It was supposed to be 3:46 p.m. So I just got a message saying that we're still leaving around 5 o'clock, but our arrival time is going to be later. So our arrival time changed, but our departure time remains the same. That's because we just got a reroute, and we're taking the long route to LaGuardia today. It's not the first time it's happened to me. Check out the video I posted on August 9th, 2025. In that video, I'm on the same flight as today, Delta 1021, and we took this route to LaGuardia for the same reason we will today. Bad weather along the East Coast. We flew up north toward Cleveland before we headed east on what's called the Milton arrival. But on this flight, once we got to Pennsylvania, they actually had to send us north to upstate New York and fly another arrival, the Harp arrival to LaGuardia, due to congestion. That got me really upset because it forced us to approach runway 22 from the north, and I missed out on Manhattan views on a right downwind leg for runway 22. I was expecting to come in from the south. It's a nice day here in Orlando, but no one should ever use the weather conditions at an airport to judge that a flight should be on time. I'm going to head over to the gate area to see what's going on there. Trust me, never wait in this concourse. Here's my plane. They'll need more fuel than usual for today's flight. Take note of the scheduled departure time and the new departure time for Delta 1021. So they just made an announcement that we are delayed another 30 minutes. So I arrived at the gate just at the time that boarding was about to begin. And as soon as that happened, they said that we're not going to leave until 5:30. That's fine. Although, I think sometimes it would be better if they would let the passengers go onto the airplane and sit, because it is super, super crowded here. Now, of course, it will be an extended period on the aircraft itself, because as I mentioned earlier, we are taking the long route to LaGuardia. We're going to head up towards Cleveland, Ohio. Done that before. And then head towards the east to join the arrival procedure to LaGuardia from the south. It's going to be a pretty long flight today, a lot longer than normal.
Air traffic control in New York has not released us to begin the boarding process, so we are waiting for them to give us the release so that we are able to begin our boarding process. Next update is supposed to be at around 5 p.m. Once we get the next update, then we'll go ahead and make the announcement. Again, at this time, if you have a connection going to Charleston, Boston, or at this point, Pittsburgh, unfortunately, you will not make your connection out of LaGuardia. And I do ask you to kindly go to the Need Help Center to find alternative flights. If you have the Fly Delta app, you can also rebook on the app, or you can take one of the green cards that I have here at the podium to find any and all alternatives. Again, I do apologize for any and all inconvenience. Once I have additional information, I will let you know.
So as we continue our waiting process here at the gate, it's turning out to be more and more like a normal day, because this is what normal is like, of course. Quite honestly, if my flight were to be on time, it would not be a normal day. Well, we're going to wait even further here at MCO. What to do while waiting? Well, I do have a bit of a view of my aircraft out there, but there's really not that much that I can do. What can you do while we wait for takeoff? Consider supporting this channel on Patreon. There's a link below. Special thanks to the following Patreon members. I see some action at the gate. I think the gate agent is about to make an announcement.
For those passengers, Delta Flight 1021, they have given us the okay to begin the boarding process. I do thank you all for your patience. At this time, I am going to invite any passenger that requested agent assistance. You are welcome to line up here at the doorway mark 74.
All right, we're all set to head over to LGA. Runway 22, will it be today? Let's see. I'm in my seat, and on the seat back in front of me, Delta thanks me for my status, but I'm not here for that. I'm here for this, a seat on the right side of the plane. If we get out now, chances are we'll still land on runway 22 with right traffic, hopefully flying up the Hudson, but we're not coming out right away.
The delay today is, there's a big line of thunderstorms stretching from Indiana over to the East Coast. It's cutting down on the routes that are available to go from Florida up to New York. So the amount of planes they can take up through there is very much reduced. So they've had to, the FAA has had to give everyone a wheels up time. And they are rolling the delays currently. We're keeping an eye on it. As of right now, the next update, I think once we finish boarding here, get closed up, and taxi out, it shouldn't be too much longer before hopefully we're able to take off and be underway, but I'll certainly keep you apprised of our progress. Once we do get airborne, our routing takes us a little out of the way from the normal routing. So a slightly extended flying time of around 3 hours up to New York. Currently up there, it's around 88 degrees Fahrenheit, winds from the south. They are forecasting some rain showers in the next couple of hours.
You heard it from the pilot. Restricted airspace is causing limited flights, leading to rolling delays, and once we take off, it'll be a 3-hour flight. I'm not having dinner in New York tonight. It'll be too late. All I can do is look out the window because the map on the seat back in front of me is not working properly. I was in an earlier boarding group, and as I sat down, within 20 minutes, the entire plane boarded. It was a completely full flight. I think that's around 191 passengers. At 6:30 p.m., the captain came back with this announcement.
Hello everyone, Captain Pete up front again. I'm sorry I don't have good news for you. Air traffic control has extended the ground delay program for another hour, and our flight attendant crew has reached the end of their hours, unfortunately. So what that means is we are going to deplane the aircraft and go back to the terminal. There is another crew inbound to Orlando that the company is working on trying to get to work this flight. So as of now, this flight is still going. The flight crew, the pilots, we're still good on hours. We're working
All right, we're getting off the airplane now. So the game plan is to go back to the terminal and just listen for updates about this flight. If you've watched some of my previous videos, this has happened multiple times, so it's no big deal. Just a normal day in the United States Airspace System. Back to the crowds. So I know there's a lot of rules and regulations regarding, people being aboard an aircraft for extended periods of time when you're not moving. The door was open. It probably would have been better just to have us sit on the aircraft because what am I doing here? Not much. I love being on airplanes. I'm just taking a little stroll here in the main atrium area. Not really sure where to go, but I should go back to the gate to listen to any announcements. The only way to get any updates about your flight is really to sit in the gate area next to the airplane, so I have to remain here. At least I can see the aircraft. All right, sorry about the lighting. I've got the sun behind me. There's really no other options. I'm sitting on the ground here in the terminal. I just saw some new flight attendants board the aircraft, so hopefully once they board and do their safety checks, we can get on board. We'll see what happens. Well, so far our route remains unchanged. We're still doing that long route up to Cleveland. Let's see what happens. Unfortunately, most of the flight's going to be during the dark. I really enjoy booking flights so that we can get in during daylight hours, especially during times when the sun is in a really, really good position to illuminate things, but it's probably not going to happen today. Oh, look, our new departure time is 8:15 p.m. Notice how it says boarding there? It says boarding, but we're not. So I did see 2 flight attendants board earlier. There are 2 more that are going to be joining those flight attendants. However, they're on an inbound flight that's here at MCO, but they're waiting for a gate. That's also normal.
Flight 1021 service to New York's LaGuardia Airport. Again, we do not have any updates as of yet. The New York airports are still on a ground stop. They are not allowing anyone to take off or land. Until that actually clears, we will not be able to begin boarding for this flight. Again, for Delta Flight 1021 to LaGuardia, pilots are on board, flight attendants are on board, our crew is good on time, our aircraft is here at the gate. We are simply waiting for New York to release so that we can begin the boarding process. Again, when any additional information becomes available, I'll let you all know, and I do apologize for any and all inconvenience.
Well, I guess that explains it all. Well, we're now 5 hours into our delay. We're just waiting for ATC to give us clearance to go. They are releasing a lot of aircraft out of the Texas area, going up to the north and then flying to the east to get to LaGuardia, but nothing from the south is being released at this point. We'll just have to wait a little bit longer and see.
Ground stop in effect in the New York area until 10 p.m. The next update is going to be around 9:45 and 10 o'clock to see once that ground stop has been lifted. Once the ground stop is lifted, we will begin boarding for New York LaGuardia.
Time now, 9:15. So the gate agent actually left. She said she'll be back a little bit later. There's really nothing to do. It's a long wait tonight. This is the quieter part of the concourse, but you can't hear the announcements from here.
Good evening, everyone. Get here for Delta Flight 1021 to LaGuardia. We just received word that they have lifted the ground stop, so in just a few minutes we should be able to come back down. We're just waiting on the gate agent to get back here, and then we should just need to get boarded back up. Hopefully we'll need to refuel. We'll wait till there as soon as we can. So please just manage gate area. Once we get the gate agent back here, we'll get to them as soon as we can. Apologize for late. Thank you for your patience. Thank you.
So that's the pilot giving the announcement. The gate agent actually just walked away. She's coming back. She's got to board everybody. And hopefully we'll be on our way very, very soon to LaGuardia Airport. It is around 9:30 at night. Again, that scheduled departure time was 3:46. This is supposed to be a channel about air traffic and flight paths and why we're going where we're going. But I know I'm spending a lot of time on this part. Unfortunately, it's going to be pretty dark or completely dark during the entire flight, but it is what it is. So let me know in the comments section below if you think I need to make a video where my flight is on time, and I call it not normal because it seems like more flights are actually delayed than on time, and I'm just considering this to be normal and part of life.
To begin the boarding process. At this time, will you invite any passenger that requested agent assistance? If you requested agent assistance or extra time for boarding, you are welcome to come on doorway box 74.
Let's go to LaGuardia.
For your patience.
What a great feeling it is to be boarding this airplane right now. And what a bad feeling it is to know that I booked a flight that should be flying during the day and the whole flight's going to be in the dark. It's bright inside, but I'm not here to stare at the cabin. I'm here for this. I want to see how we fit into the National Airspace System. We have new flight attendants on board, but the pilots are the same.
Stop has been canceled. to the northeast. Telling us once we get to the runway, we should be good to go. Flying time again, about 3 hours. And we certainly appreciate your patience this evening. I think they're just loading the last minute bags, and we'll be underway.
The time is now 10:08 p.m. We're now pushing back. That was supposed to happen just a few minutes after 3:46 p.m. We're over 6 hours late and have a longer than normal 3-hour flight ahead of us. And it's primarily due to a lack of available routes to New York due to bad weather on the East Coast. This is an ongoing problem that's existed for, well, decades, and I've experienced it countless times. Like I said earlier, you just have to plan for being late, and I do. This is really nothing to be surprised about. Each person has their own story, and my concerns are with the difficulty that I have to face while trying to film at night. Any light inside the cabin causes a reflection, and it's not easy to focus at night. My other concern is our approach to LaGuardia. The winds have shifted, but they're still landing on runway 22, but I don't think this is going to last for very long. The current controller is actually vectoring aircraft from the south northbound up the Hudson, and I could potentially see Manhattan from 4,000 feet from this window if this keeps up. In any case, I've been in this situation before, so I can deem this to be, well, normal. We're taxiing to runway 36 right today under the guidance of Orlando Ground Control. Oh, by the way, I typically do provide ATC communications on this channel, but I had some trouble getting them for this video, but don't worry, I'll explain everything. Taking off on runway 36 right is new, since most recently I've been taking off on the same runway in the other direction, runway 18 left. That's another reason why I wish the sun was out as planned. We'll be climbing out to the north and not to the south again. We're all set for takeoff on runway 36 right. Runway 36 right, as indicated by the runway number 36, which is short for 360, indicates the runway heading, and that's around 360 degrees, which is north. Runway 36 right is the sister runway to runway 36 left, which is off to our left side. There are two more parallel runways that are parallel to these two runways, but since they all head the same way, they're labeled 35 left and 35 right. Otherwise, we'd have too many runways labeled 36. Once we take off on runway 36 right, we'll be handed off to the TRACON controller, who will monitor us on radar only during the initial climb. We'll fly straight out to the north for a bit. The time right now is 10:28 p.m. Wouldn't it be nice if after flying straight out, we start a turn to the right to the northeast toward New York City? That would seem pretty logical, but remember that we're flying a special route today due to weather in a straight line from MCO to LGA. Like I said earlier, we need to fly the Milton arrival. The Milton arrival procedure begins in western Pennsylvania and ends in the New York City area around the Verrazano Bridge. We'll be joining the Milton arrival around the Cleveland, Ohio area. And in order to get to Cleveland, well, the flight path calls for us to fly to Florida's west coast to the north. Orlando is not on the west coast of Florida. It's in central Florida and even closer to the east coast. But after flying runway heading for a bit, we'll be making a left turn toward the Tampa area before we can head north toward Cleveland. If you want to see this during daylight conditions, watch the video from August 9th. Even though we took off to the south, we turned right toward Tampa before heading north. I recommend this video to you since it was filmed entirely during the day, so it was a lot easier to film, point out the sights, and capture good footage of aircraft that we shared the airspace with that we would not normally see in a standard straight line path from LaGuardia to Orlando. Now remember, for that flight, once we flew over Pennsylvania, we switched to another arrival, the Harp arrival, and approached LaGuardia around runway 22 from the north. I hope that does not happen tonight. We're starting a series of left-hand turns now. Each turn is gradual and wide and will eventually lead us to heading west. These turns occur over the northern reaches of the Orlando area. We're under the control of the Orlando TRACON controller, who will soon hand us off to the high-altitude Jacksonville Control Center. They'll monitor us as we climb to our cruising altitude and proceed on course on Florida's west coast, then straight along to the north toward Cleveland, Ohio. Once several miles into Georgia, we should be talking to Atlanta Center, then Indianapolis Center, then Cleveland Center, then New York Center. In New York Center's airspace, we'll get handed off to New York Approach Control on the Milton arrival as we descend over Pennsylvania and across northern New Jersey toward the Verrazano Bridge. For now, we just keep turning left. Now, remember earlier, I had mentioned that while we were waiting in the terminal, only flights from Texas were being released. Those flights, too, were heading north toward Cleveland, Ohio, and descending on the Milton arrival. Now that those flights and some others are out of the way, the path for us has become clear. LaGuardia Airport really needs its full capacity of 3 main arrival routes to operate efficiently. The Milton arrival, which we will fly from the west, the Pratt arrival, which we should have been flying from the south, and the Harp arrival from the north. When aircraft are rerouted to share routes with flights that are normally supposed to already be on them, things get messy. A flight from Chicago to LaGuardia would fly the Milton arrival on a normal day, and when you get a flight like us that has no business being in a path between Chicago and New York, there are going to be delays. But it's not just us, it's every flight from the south. Just think of how many flights there are from the entire state of Florida alone headed to LaGuardia. The Florida-New York route is extremely popular. Basically, everyone flying from Florida to LaGuardia is doing what we're doing tonight. They're getting delayed and flying out of the way. We are not alone. My predictions were right. A new wind direction has taken over LaGuardia Airport, and the airport has shifted their operations to landing on runway 31 via the RNAV X-ray approach. Learning about this right now is worse than the delay. Why? Because the approach keeps Manhattan entirely on the left side of the plan. I chose the right side because Manhattan was supposed to be on the right side of the plan. We were supposed to land on runway 22, and that's why I'm seated here on the right side. Now, we'll fly northbound over Brooklyn and Queens with Manhattan on the left side. Once closer to LaGuardia, we'll fly over the Long Island Expressway and we'll make a sweeping, low-altitude left turn to line up with runway 31. If you're seated on the left side of the plane, after a stunning view of Manhattan, you'll get a thrilling runway view seconds before landing on it. I will not see this tonight, and it's because of this delay. When I fly, I'm not purchasing a seat. I don't care if I'm in Comfort Plus or Main Cabin or First. I just want to be aware and enjoy. I can't believe there are people on the left side of the plane who haven't even raised their window shades, and they won't for the rest of the flight. They don't know what they'll be missing later on. I'm upset, but I have to focus on the moment. You can see from the map on the seatback that we're headed west. About 10 minutes later, we started to turn to the north along Florida's west coast toward Cleveland. Here we are heading north. That's Fanning Springs and Trenton, Florida down there. By this point, we've entered Georgia and have a clear view of Valdosta as we communicate with the Atlanta Air Route Traffic Control Center. Just past Valdosta, I took a peek at the screen and I noticed something very interesting. We've turned to the northeast. I took a look at a weather map and saw that the storms that were on the east coast have moved offshore. Guess what? That means that the standard routing has now opened up, and now we're being rerouted to fly northeast via the Proud arrival. This will shave off some time, and here comes the pilot announcement talking about it.
Able to work with air traffic control to get an updated routing up to New York, which has cut off about 30 minutes of flying time. So right now we are showing estimated touchdown at 1 a.m. local time. We'll be back with you as we get closer. Thank you.
So it's now an ETA of 1 a.m. as opposed to 1:30 a.m. It's nice to have the shortcut, but it doesn't fix the fact that we're landing after the wind shift. In any case, the en route cities that we'll pass by will be different than anticipated. That's Dublin, Georgia down there. The bright lights we see below make up Augusta, Georgia. We'll be flying through different high-altitude control zones now. We're now entering the airspace of Washington Center. We can now see the metropolitan Charlotte area, as well as the Charlotte Douglas International Airport down there. That's followed by Greensboro, North Carolina. We can see the bad weather that completely blocked off our route earlier. It's moved out to the east, so it's safe for us to be where we are right now. The lights down below form the Raleigh-Durham area. Here's our route so far. You can see how after takeoff we headed west, flew up the west coast of Florida, then headed northeast as we changed course over Georgia. New York is straight ahead, and the Proud arrival roughly follows the proposed path as indicated by the gray line. Directly below us is Petersburg, Virginia. Named after myself, this town was found Just kidding. By the way, the captain of this flight is also Peter. Out in the distance is Newport News and Norfolk, Virginia. We've started our descent and are now talking to New York Center. That's Vineland, New Jersey, with Atlantic City in the distance. While on the proud arrival, we have some interesting sights like LaGuardia Air Force Base and the 160-acre amusement park Six Flags Great Adventure. After passing by Philadelphia on the left side, we descend further and are handed off to New York Approach Control, where we continue to follow the proud arrival to the northeast. We'll receive some vectors from the controller, as well as speed restrictions as the controller works us in with traffic ahead of us, as well as traffic on the Milton arrival, the arrival that we were supposed to fly. Both arrival paths merge slightly north of where we are now in Monmouth County, New Jersey, and the goal is to have all aircraft fly to a point called Pachu. Pachu is the first waypoint on the RNAV X-ray runway 31 approach. It's located in Brooklyn over the Park Slope neighborhood. We'll cross Pachu at 3,000 feet, then get handed off to the control tower. Now, this is a curved approach. Once over Pachu, we descend further and continue to the northeast to 2 more waypoints, and this is where Manhattan will appear on the left side of the plane. Poor me. Once over Bushwick Junction in Queens, we'll turn right and roughly follow the path of the Long Island Expressway toward Flushing Meadows Corona Park. Upon reaching the park, we swing around to the left in a near U-turn to land on runway 31. From the turn at Bushwick Junction to seconds before landing, the left side will provide an amazing close-in view of all of LaGuardia Airport and its interesting operations. And I'm going to miss it since I'm on the right. We've been cleared for the approach and are now on the RNAV X-ray approach for runway 31. We're looking at Coney Island down there. It's been a while since I've flown on this approach, so I'll try to take it all in, rather than that person in 14A who has the window shade down. This is a really good view of Brooklyn as we fly over it, with a small portion of Brooklyn visible on the other side of the plane. We are headed directly toward Pachu and Park Slope and are at 3,000 feet. Once over Pachu, we'll continue on a 45-degree heading for 2.6 miles. Now, it's almost as if we're landing on runway 4 because it's directly ahead of us, but we'll be too high for runway 4, so we'll swing around to runway 31 tonight. This morning, since it's after midnight. We won't notice any turns until we reach the next fix, Shea, over the Bed-Stuy neighborhood of Brooklyn. Once at Shea, we'll turn right 14 degrees and hold it heading for 2 miles. Shea pays homage to the old name of the Mets Stadium, Shea Stadium, now Citi Field. Now, we're at a point where passengers on the left-hand side of the plane are starting to take in and marvel at the Manhattan skyline with its tall buildings and bright lights. I can't see it from here, and neither can the person in 14A since the window shade is down. Once we make the 14-degree turn to the right, Manhattan will still be visible, specifically Midtown, and the nose will be pointed toward the left towards the next fix, Gay Car. Gay Car is our first fix in Queens over Bushwick Junction and is named after New York Mets catcher Gary Carter. We cross Gay Car at 2,200 feet. As I look across the vast borough of Brooklyn, I can see Jamaica Bay and Kennedy Airport. Why don't I fly to JFK often? Because it doesn't provide the views like LaGuardia does, especially for those passengers in the A seats on the other side of this plane. Yes, I always choose airports based upon the views, and this delay has ruined it for me. The Manhattan views on the left side are out of this world right now. Before we get to Shea and turn right 14 degrees, I'll give you some history of this approach. Previously, just a few short years ago, this approach was called the Expressway Visual Runway 31 approach. Once over the twin white tanks of masts path, we would turn right like we will today, but would simply follow the Long Island Expressway, then turn left following Flushing Meadows Corona Park down to the runway. It was an entirely visual approach, but this new RNAV approach ensures more precision than it did in the past. We're coming up on Shea now, to be crossed at 2,500 feet, and this is one of 2 turns that allow us to start flying around the path of the LIE rather than simply looking out the window to follow it via one turn. We can now descend to 2,200 feet in the 2-mile interval between Shea and Gay Car over Bushwick Junction in our landing borough of Queens. Once over Gay Car, we turn right to 89 degrees along the general path of the LIE, but not directly over it as would have been done on the Expressway Visual approach to runway 31. At JFK, we're roughly aligned with runway 13 right, which is roughly aligned with 4th Street in Manhattan, so I know passengers on the left side can see both downtown and midtown. The left side is in my thoughts now, but I know that Manhattan views are going to go away soon as we reach Gay Car and turn to 89 degrees and descend to 1,142 feet for the next 3 miles. The Manhattan view goes away with this turn, but this brings the plane just south of LaGuardia Airport, affording a great left-hand side view of our destination airport. First, it's a view of runway 4, where we were headed toward, then runway 31. At least I get to keep JFK in sight from this side, but it's far. Once we reach the next fix, we start a series of left turns over Flushing Meadows Corona Park. That used to be all visual. Now it's fix by fix. The next fix is Darryl, named for Mets right fielder Darryl Strawberry, Darrow is located over Rego Park in Queens. It's 2 more left turns after Darrow, which appear to be almost one continuous left turn toward runway 31. Keith, named for Mets first baseman Keith Hernandez, and Dr. K, named for Mets pitcher Dwight Gooden, are the 2 next fixes. Keith over Corona is crossed at 782 feet, and Dr. K over Flushing is crossed at 722 feet. Then it's straight in to the runway. We're about to start the left turn at Darrow, and at this point the pilot should have the runway in sight off to the left. It's actually not easy to spot as there are no approach lights to runway 31 and the final approach is over the water. The left side provides some amazing views of tall buildings just off to our left, and here on the right we can see Flushing Meadows Corona Park. JFK is just over the engine, and that's the last view of it that we'll have. All of LaGuardia, including the bright lights from Terminal C, are clearly visible on the left side. We're also circling Citi Field, home of the New York Mets, which is why all of the fixes have references to the Mets. This is the only approach at LaGuardia where the names of fixes relate to something in popular culture. I mentioned the Long Island Expressway several times, and here we can see how we've been following a path near it, but it continues out onto Long Island. It's almost 1 a.m., and we're all set for landing on runway 31, which is just off to the left. Just a few low-altitude turns are left over a densely populated area, then there'll be a small period over the water of Flushing Bay, and then we'll land on runway 31. Despite the time, I'm still wishing we were landing on runway 22 with right traffic. If we were just on time today, or earlier than this flight, the views would have been so much more rewarding. This, however, was a typical day in the United States Airspace System. Let's land on runway 31. Have a good night.
Bye.
All right, everybody, I'm going to end the video here. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. We were supposed to get here around 6 p.m., but that's not the disappointing part. The disappointing part is that we flew the RNAV X-ray runway 31 approach, and I had a seat on the right-hand side of the plane. They were landing at runway 22 with right traffic all day long, and when my flight came in, it didn't happen. Who cares about those delays? It's a normal day here at LaGuardia. Thank you so much for watching this video, everybody. Remember that if you haven't subscribed, click on the subscribe button below for more videos just like this. Thanks, everybody, and see you soon. With all the traveling I do, I find myself just sitting for hours on an airplane, and I need a way to make up for that, so I use my Yesol G1M Plus for a regular cardio workout. A breeze to put together, and at a great price point, this is the best stationary bike I've ever had. With so much time spent sitting, this is a great fit for my lifestyle, and using it doesn't take me away from what I need to do. It's all about fun cardio, as this bike features wired multimedia casting, making a typical cardio workout transformed into something enjoyable. I mean, who doesn't enjoy watching Peter Masella's YouTube channel while working out? I know I certainly watch my channel all the time, even when I'm not working out, because the screen rotates 360 degrees, so I can watch the screen when not sitting on the bike. I love having an additional screen in my home in a place where I normally would not have one. What a great feature! Working out and enjoyment go hand in hand with Yesol. As a traveler, I love this feature, which allows me to feel like I'm biking abroad. And when I want to take things very seriously, I just tune into instructor-led courses. I always leave it to the pros to tell me what to do. I'm an expert as an airline passenger, but I'm not an expert trainer. And statistics are always available to me. These are some fantastic metrics that provide me with the right information at the right time. And I'm not the only one who uses Yesol.
Hey, this is Peter Sr. here. I'm using Yesol on a regular basis, and let me tell you, it's working wonders for me as well.
That's right, my dad loves using this product. After all, he also sits on airplanes a lot and needs the cardio workout. He's especially fond of the 4-speaker system and 2 subwoofers for exceptional sound quality. As a viewer of this channel, you can take advantage of my discount code in the description below. It's exceptionally affordable. Imagine watching Netflix or the news or airplane videos while biking or at any angle. What a deal this is.
That's right, you heard it. You can get a great discount with my code.
You just gotta do it.